and welcome to a very special edition of UCAM, live from London. I'm Mike Bailey.
And I'm Sam Hanson, and indeed we have broken out the studio. And for the very first time we've come on the road. We're here on London's South Bank. It is a little bit chilly, but we're not going to let that stop us because we've got a great show in store for you.
That's right, we've sent our reporters Shehan Jayasinghe and Jamie Rowe out around London to bring you the latest stories.
Guys, where are you?
I'm live here at Stamford Bridge with all your sports news and an interesting night in the Carling Cup.
And I'm here at Trafalgar Square, the home of the Olympic countdown clock, where later on today the last batch of Olympic tickets go on sale. To find out how you can get your hands on them, stay tuned to UCAM.
Thanks guys.
Well, that's not all we've got in store for you today, because later on I'll be going over to St Paul's Cathedral to find out the latest on the Occupy protests.
And also find out what happened when I travelled around London to see what it has to offer this Christmas. But first we go back to the studio where Shehan has this morning's headlines.
Thanks, Mike. The top story this morning, and millions of public sector workers are set to strike today as a result of government proposals to cut state pensions. The proposals were part of a report from the Chancellor which suggested a bleak financial outlook for the next 5 years. Our political correspondent Jamie Rowe reports from Westminster.
Teachers, doctors and university lecturers are just some of the professions involved in today's public sector pension strikes. Wednesday's demonstrations will create a countrywide shortage of public sector workers, which means fewer bobbies on the beat, empty classrooms and understaffed hospitals. The strike action follows the announcement from George Osborne that those in the public sector will face significant cuts to their state pensions. On top of that, he said that the age of retirement will raise to 67 in 2026, but he insists that strike action is not the way forward.
The strike is not going to achieve anything. It is only going to damage our economy and cost jobs. We're offering a very decent pension to people in the public sector, something that people in the private sector could not afford at the moment. And we're doing it in a way that is fair to those on low and middle incomes in the public sector who will actually see an increase in their pension. But we're doing it also in a way that is fair to the taxpayer and the country can afford. So I would urge people, look, let's not go on strike, let's sit round and negotiate. That's the right thing for the British economy at a time like this.
However, those working in the public sector feels that today's strike action is necessary. As many as 2 million workers are set to take their protests to the streets of London today. However, the demonstrations aren't expected to come too close to the buildings behind me, where Prime Minister David Cameron will be fielding questions from opposition leader Ed Miliband on how he intends to combat the public discontent. Jamie Rowe, UCAM.
As Jamie alluded to there, David Cameron faces a tough Prime Minister's questions later today. And as ever, you can watch that live on UCA News, as well as dedicated coverage of today's strikes. Now the latest on the Leveson inquiry, and a former News of the World journalist has said that the phone hacking was used for good. Paul McMullen described the hacking of Millie Dowler's phone as an honourable act done to help find the girl. His claims come after the News of the World was closed in July amid public outcry at the paper's hacking of the teenager's phone. McMullen also faced questions on who else knew about the phone hacking and suggested David Cameron's former aide, Andy Coulson, was not only aware of it, but encouraged it within the paper.
I mean, it was that blatant and obvious. I don't think anyone realised that anyone was committing a crime at the start. And so my assertion has always been that Andy Coulson brought that practice wholesale with him when he was appointed deputy editor.
The world of football is still in a state of shock after the tragic loss of Gary Speed. Speed was the Welsh national manager and also captained his country during a glittering career, but sadly died at his home in the early hours of Sunday morning. Tributes continue to pour in, with managers past and present expressing their disbelief at the news.
He was my captain of Wales. He'd do anything for you. He turned Welsh football around. He'd had a wonderful career, got a lovely wife and 2 sons, and I just keep shivering and shivering and shivering and thinking, what has gone on? The question that's been asked. I honestly couldn't take it in, really. It was something, as I said, I'd spoken to Gary there last week, and I seen him on the TV the other day, and he was one of the most handsome men you'll ever see, and looked fantastic. So it's so, without obviously knowing all the details of it, it's just so sad. a man of that career, 42 years of age, with a great career in front of him, a proper legend of football.
Now, there have been more developments in the John Terry racism row. The England and Chelsea captain was accused of making a racist slur against Queen's Park Rangers player Anton Ferdinand in October. Terry was questioned by the Met Police last week, and we learned this morning that Scotland Yard have passed that file to the Crown Prosecution Service, and it is their job to decide whether to bring charges against Terry. This all relates to an on-field incident when Chelsea met QPR in the Premier League, and Terry was accused of making the racial slur against Ferdinand, an allegation the Chelsea player denies. So that's the headlines you're waking up to this morning. And from the warmth of the studio, I hand you back to Mike in the slightly chillier surroundings of London's South Bank.
Thanks, Shehan. Now, as you can see, Sam's left me, but with good reason. He's travelled across the river to find out the latest on the anti-capitalist movement at St Paul's Cathedral.
Thanks for that, Mike. Well, indeed, I have made it across to St Paul's Cathedral, where the anti-capitalist protests have been going on since mid-September. The situation has been largely unchanged in that time, with about 100 tents camped out here to the west side of the cathedral by the entrance. A few moments ago, I caught up with one of the demonstrators to find out about tented life. So how long have you been here at St Paul's?
I've been here for about 6.5 weeks, since the first Thursday after it started.
And how's life in a tent? Is it tricky?
At times, when it rains, it usually floods because we're on cobbles, so the water just sits there. It's pretty cold, pretty windy, but otherwise it's all right. Yeah, not too bad.
So you're coping okay with it?
Yeah, quite happily, yeah. I wouldn't change it for the world.
If you could just remind us again why you're actually here and what you're standing for.
Because there is a massive inequality going on at the moment in the world. There are people who earn far too much money for what they're actually doing, and the money that the government is putting in to bring the current economic crash back to normal is not trickling down. It's not going anywhere.
Well, as you've just heard, the protesters don't look like moving on anytime soon, despite the fact that times are pretty tough here. And talking of tough times, I don't think you'd cope quite so well in a tent, Mike.
Yeah, you're probably right, Sam. I've been out here 10 minutes and I'm already freezing. But sport now, and it was an exciting night of Carling Cup football last night, and we sent Jamie Rowe to Stamford Bridge. Jamie, I understand Chelsea had a night to forget.
Yeah, as you can see, it's pretty quiet outside Stamford Bridge this morning. A sombre atmosphere after that 2-0 defeat to Liverpool in the Carling Cup last night. An emotional minute's silence was observed for Gary Speed before kick-off, with former teammate and friend Craig Bellamy returning to the side after his weekend absence. Liverpool striker Andy Carroll missed a first-half penalty, but it was Bellamy who set up Maxi Rodriguez to score the opener after 57 minutes. Bellamy then crossed for Martin Kelly to head home and complete the victory, which sees Liverpool progress to the League Cup semis. Man City and Cardiff will join Liverpool in the last four of the Carling Cup after their wins over Arsenal and Blackburn respectively. Elsewhere in the world of sport, Kimi Räikkönen will make a sensational return to Formula One next season. The 2007 Formula One champion left the sport in 2009 after 3 seasons with Ferrari. He has since competed in the World Rally Championship and NASCAR in the USA, but he feels now is the right time to return.
There's always a lot of talk about the motivation, but nobody really knows what I do or what I think apart from myself, so I don't really care what people says. But I enjoy to come back. I wouldn't put my name in a contract if I wouldn't think that I really enjoy it. So it will be interesting and it will be exciting to get back.
And finally, British heavyweight boxer David Haye appears ready to come out of retirement to face Vitaly Klitschko, just 2 months after he hung up his boxing gloves. The former world champion announced his retirement in October after his defeat to Klitschko's older brother, Vladimir. In an interview with UCA Sports News, Haye confirmed the two parties are in talks for a fight in March 2012. That's all from me in the sport at Stamford Bridge. Back to you guys on the South Bank.
Thanks for that, Jamie. Well, I've just hot-footed it back from St Paul's Cathedral, but another of our roving reporters out in the capital is Shehan Jayasinghe.
Yes, and we can cross live to Trafalgar Square, where Shehan is at the Olympic countdown clock for all the latest on London 2012.
Thanks, Mike. For this week's Olympic report, I've come down to Trafalgar Square, where the Olympic countdown clock just behind me tells us it's only 239 days till the start of the Games. Now, earlier on this year, millions of us applied to get tickets for the Games, with the majority of us left disappointed. But do not fear, your final chance to get hold of tickets is today. 1.5 million tickets go on sale this morning for the Olympic football event, which was the only sport that did not sell out when tickets originally went on sale earlier this year. Now, with availability at 6 different stadiums around the UK, including Glasgow and Cardiff, this provides a real opportunity for everyone around the country to feel part of the Games. So there we have it, those tickets go on sale at 11 o'clock this morning. Be sure not to miss out. Now, in Paralympic news, the remaining tickets for those Games go on sale this Friday. It provides an opportunity for us all to go to the Athletic Stadium and the Aquatic Centre and support our athletes who did so well in Beijing. That's all for your Olympic news this week. Back to the guys in the South Bank.
Thanks, Shehan.
Now, we couldn't come to London without sampling some of the many Christmassy delights. Mike, I believe you've been getting in the festive spirit.
That's right, Sam. Earlier today, I checked out one of London's many Christmas attractions. Dear Santa will be the start of many children's letters this Christmas. But if it's gifts you're looking for, then look no further than the Covent Garden Festive Market. It's one of several Christmas markets set up throughout the capital for the festive season. So let's take a look at what's on offer.
Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bells swing and jingle bells ring. Snowing and blowing up bushels of fun. Now the jingle hop has begun. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bells.
It's markets like this that really get you in the festive spirit, so there shouldn't be any shortage of presents around the Christmas tree this year. From everyone here at Covent Garden Market, have a happy Christmas.
Well, I must say, Mike, that looked pretty fun.
Yes, it was, Sam. As you can see, we've travelled here to Somerset House, where they've set up a temporary ice rink for some wintertime fun. But before you plan your visit, you might want to know what the weather's up to. Sam?
Cheers, Mike. Well, it's going to be a fairly dull start to the day for most of us, with several scattered showers. Unfortunately, that trend looks set to continue across most parts, with the worst rain likely to hit the northwest of the UK. Temperatures will reach highs of 11 degrees, but with winds of up to 80 miles an hour on the Scottish borders, it may feel decidedly cooler. Here in London, the worst of the rain will appear this afternoon and continue into the evening. Looking ahead to tomorrow, I'm afraid to say that the rain is likely to become heavier and more widespread in the south, with temperatures no higher than 12 degrees. Those further north can hope for some clearer skies and an ease in the wind as the day progresses. Well, that's all for the weather, Mike.
Thanks, Sam. Now, here's a quick roundup of the news.
Millions of public sector workers are set to go on strike across the country as the Chancellor announces cuts to pensions. Demonstrators continue to occupy the area around St Paul's Cathedral in protest of financial inequalities. And in sport, Liverpool land a shock result to send Chelsea out of the Carling Cup.
Well, that's all we have time for on this special edition of UCAM.
Myself and Mike are now going to head down the Thames a little bit to get some mulled wine to warm us up.
We'll be back in the studio tomorrow, but that's it from us here in London. Goodbye.
Bye.